If you listened to the last episode, you heard me talk about intentional structure and what it looks like when your business appears stable on the outside, but it still depends on you more than it should. We talked about creating decision space and building structure that supports you instead of suffocating you. So today I want to go a little bit deeper on that, because before you can build sustainable structure at a strategic level, you have to look at something more foundational: your boundaries. Not boundaries as personality traits or something you enforce only when you're frustrated, but boundaries as part of your business structure. Welcome to the Mind Your Time podcast. I'm Shannon Baker, your coffee-loving host, business strategist, and systems expert. And I guide consultants towards systems that protect their time and elevate their expertise. So if you're ready to run a business that supports your life and not the other way around, you're in the right place. Each episode shares grounded strategies rooted in my Power in Motion framework to help you lead your client experience with clarity and confidence. So grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage and let's dive in. Believe it or not, there was a season in my business where everything technically worked. My clients were happy, my monthly revenue was consistent, and on the outside, everything looked solid. But something very subtle was happening behind the scenes that I did not fully recognize at the time. I was tired in a way that didn't match my numbers. I was answering messages all times of the day, 7 days a week, simply because I could and I felt I had to. I was taking calls because my calendar technically had space available, and I was making small exceptions because I wanted to be helpful and responsive. So, like I said, nothing in my business was technically broken, but everything depended on me being available all the time. And that availability was quietly shaping how everything operated. And sometimes the most strategic thing you can do in that moment is slow down long enough to create some space to see what is actually happening inside your business before you make another decision. So as I look back on that season now, I can clearly see how the little things that seemed harmless at the time, they were actually creating bigger problems. I was checking my messages during dinner when I should have been present with my family. My calendar was open 5 days a week for calls, which meant that I could never fully settle into deep work. And I told myself that I was being flexible and client-focused. But what I did not realize was that I was slowly training everyone around me to have access to me on demand. And that is what we're going to talk about today. And I don't want you to think that you have to be rigid or shut people out. I'm talking about the importance of recognizing the places where your business may be relying on you more than it should, and understanding how undefined boundaries quietly distort your leadership. You see, when your boundaries are unclear, you start leading in a more reactive way. And when your leadership becomes reactive, the entire structure of your business starts to revolve around you being on demand instead of being intentional with how you spend your time. And that's exactly what the Boundary Reset Scorecard helps you see. It gives you a quick glance so that you can spot where your boundaries and expectations are not aligned, so that you're not guessing where that pressure you're feeling is coming from. But awareness on its own is not the goal. The real value comes from what you do once you see the pattern. The scorecard helps you see the pattern, and a legacy in motion session then helps you decide what to do about it. That's the difference between noticing pressure and actually changing the structure that's creating it. And that distinction matters more than most people realize, because many business owners, they can sense that something's off, but they stay stuck in observation mode. You see, they notice the pressure, they recognize the strain on their time and energy. But if you don't take action, you don't take the next step, the structure of your business never actually changes. Clarity creates the opportunity for you to take action. And taking action allows your business to start supporting you differently instead of continuing to rely on you too much like it always has. So let's talk about a few of the areas where those patterns tend to show up. The first area we want to talk about is your availability. See, when your office hours are not clearly defined and or communicated, or when your inbox response time is not structured, and when discovery calls or any calls are booked without a filter or intake forms, and when your calendar does not accurately reflect the reality of your life, you train people to expect you to always be available. See, there's a difference between being in demand and being on demand. When you're in demand, you feel respected and professional. But when you are on demand, you're in reactive mode and it's exhausting. When your availability is undefined, you start making micro decisions throughout the day. Should I respond now or later? Should I take this call even though I was planning to work on something else that's past due? Especially if it's for your business. Should I make an exception this time? When you think about it, none of the answers to those questions or those decisions feel big in the moment, but over time, they shape how your client sees you and how you see yourself. So instead of feeling like you're in control, like you're leading your business, you start to feel like you're just responding to everything. And this is where many service providers with relationship-driven businesses start to feel that tension because we're good at what we do and our clients genuinely value what we deliver and how we serve them. But when our tools are scattered, our inbox never feels really closed, we often find ourselves available at times that we never formally agreed to be available. We want to be respected for our expertise, but our schedules do not reflect the correct level of leadership. Undefined availability creates invisible pressure, and invisible pressure drains your energy and it tugs on your leadership capability faster than almost anything else. The second area we're going to talk about is your decision making because it's related. You see, when your personal and your business calendars are not synced into one master view, and when you have not defined or protected your capacity, then anyone can book a call with you. And without intake questions, you don't get the information that you need up front. So then every decision that you make ends up happening in real time. So basically, you're constantly triaging something like you're in the emergency room. Can I fit this in today? Is this timeline realistic? Should I push this back? Should I adjust something else? The list goes on and on. See, without structural boundaries, your nervous system starts leading instead of your strategy guiding the decision. And I don't know about you, but when that starts to happen to me, my entire body reacts and it's never a good reaction. See, everything feels urgent when this happens because nothing is clearly defined. This honestly increases things that you have to redo or rework. And it definitely increases your second guessing because you're not operating from a place of clarity and intention. Then it increases resentment toward your calendar because you haven't protected it. See, when this happens, you finish a productive day, but you still feel like something has slipped through the cracks and you're behind. That is why structured decision space matters so much. And in the episode, How the Legacy in Motion session helps create intentional structure, that really focuses on how important it is for you to have an intentional space for decisions instead of you constantly reacting to what just shows up next. See, if your boundaries are undefined, you do not have reliable information that's guiding your decisions. You only have emotion and urgency, and that fluctuates. Emotion fluctuates, and urgency, that can be misleading. But structure tells the truth. The third area that's affected is your confidence. This is where Emani's story becomes especially powerful, and I've talked about Emani on the episode many times. She is talented, skilled, and capable of what she does. She had the clients and the results to prove it. But without onboarding structure, without defined meeting days, and without protected capacity, she constantly felt like she was just scrambling to get things done. Before Emani started working with me, she was answering calls at night, all day, through the weekend, working through meals, and she overextended herself just to keep everything moving forward. Over time, this had an effect on her health because the way she felt, it reflected the pressure that she was carrying in her business, and it wasn't good. Her confidence, it also didn't increase because she was working too hard. But once boundaries became part of her business structure, I saw an immediate change in her level of confidence. That once her onboarding process was clearly defined, her meeting days were consolidated, and she clarified her availability, she stopped negotiating with her time every day. That structure removed the constant decision-making and allowed her to lead more steadily. You see, undefined boundaries, they quietly erode your confidence because you are always adjusting and compensating, a lot of times overcompensating. But when your boundaries are defined, you stop reinventing the wheel, you stop making every exception personal, you stop carrying the entire mental load yourself. And when that happens, that's when leadership starts to feel steady for you again. So I've got a quick win challenge for you this week as usual, because I don't want this episode to overwhelm you. I want you to use the Boundary Reset Scorecard to just audit one boundary. Maybe it's your office hours. Are they written down and clearly communicated? Or maybe it's your inbox response time. Have you told clients when they can realistically expect to hear back from you? Or maybe it's your calendar. Are your personal and business commitments visible in one place so that you are not blindly making decisions and overcommitting yourself? I want you to choose one area and define it clearly. Do not redesign your entire business this week or right after you listen to this episode, because that is impossible. I want you to just draw one clear line and notice how that single shift changes how you feel about your time and the impact it has on your leadership. And here's something important for you to understand. If nothing changes, this tension will not disappear on its own. It's just going to keep compounding on top of itself. Undefined boundaries quietly cap your growth. They delay hiring decisions if it's time for you to grow your team. They affect your pricing confidence. They also create subtle resentment towards clients who are not actually doing anything wrong, but you've trained them to rely on you all the time. This can even make you question whether you want to grow at all, when what you really need is stronger structure. Understand this. Most of the women that I work with, they're not in crisis. They are capable, they're amazing, they're respected, and they're in demand. They're simply tired of being on demand, and they want their business to operate better without them carrying every decision. Is that you? If you want a clear way to see where your business may be relying on you too much, then please download the Boundary Reset Scorecard. A link to grab that is in the show notes. It's going to help you quickly see where this pressure is coming from. Now, for some people, once they complete the scorecard and they see those patterns clearly, the next step is a focused working session where we slow things down together and look at what is actually happening inside your business. The Legacy in Motion session is designed for that exact moment. It gives you a structured space for you to step back from the day-to-day noise of your business and take an honest look at how things are operating so you can make grounded decisions about what needs to change first. And in that session, we don't just tweak your calendar. We look at the real capacity and where your business may be relying on personality instead of process so that you can move forward with clear direction instead of guessing. And once that clarity is in place, you are going to know whether the next step is for you to implement independently inside the Mind Your Time Society, or if you need to get additional support. Now, before we close, let's do a quick recap of everything. Today, we've talked about how undefined boundaries quietly reshape your leadership. When your availability is unclear, you start to feel on demand instead of being in demand, which is what we want. And when that decision space is undefined, you end up leading from urgency instead of intention. When your boundaries are loose, your confidence is slowly eroded because you're constantly adjusting and overcompensating instead of operating from a place of structure. Now, don't get me wrong. None of this means that you're technically doing anything wrong, because in many cases, it simply means your business has grown beyond the systems that once supported it. The way you operated when your client load was smaller or your responsibilities were lighter is just no longer strong enough for the level that you're operating at now. And the solution isn't more effort. It's a stronger structure that's built around what matters to you: your time, your energy, your focus, and most importantly, your capacity. So start by auditing one boundary honestly. Use a scorecard to see the bigger picture when you're ready. And if what you uncover feels bigger than a simple adjustment, I don't want you to ignore or dismiss that awareness. That is your business or the data giving you valuable information and telling you where you need more support. You've been operating without enough structural support, and that is something that you can change. That is how you move from scattered and overwhelmed to steady and confident. That is how you build a business that respects your time as much as you do. Thank you for tuning in today. If this episode feels like a breath of fresh air, it's because you're already craving a business that supports your life, not one that steals your time. If you want help spotting what's quietly draining your time and energy, you can download the Back Office Power Checklist at theshannonbaker.com/checklist. And if this conversation resonated with you, make sure you're following the podcast on your favorite platform so you don't miss what's next. We'll keep breaking this down together, one intentional step at a time. So until next time, keep calm and streamline.